we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. That's why I put it on mute so it won't do those things, my friend. That's better. Yes, you're silent.
The one time you don't put
I
it on
did put it
mute,
on.
I had
I
it on.
did
That's
put it on
funny.
mute.
Yeah,
I did put it on mute during the intro. Yes, I did. I did. Then you took it off.
I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I didn't. I
I
didn't
did.
touch it.
Yeah, I know you did. I saw
I
it.
didn't touch it.
And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, also as well, Game Source and Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Of course, the great folks at LakersBall.com. Go ahead and check out Mr. I pushed the mute button today, aka Ox1947. Right there for you at LakersBall.com. Also, as well, he owns a great company. It's called Simblades. Simblades with the Y.com. Go ahead and check out what he's doing there. If you want your lawn transformed into something much more special than it is today, go to Simblades. Simblades with the Y.com. Plus, our good friends at Lakerholics.com. There is no Lakerholics spotlight this week, as both guys are going to be out and about. So they will say we are going to go ahead and do a Lakerholic spotlight the next week. But go ahead and check out their thoughts today on all the Lakers news and rumors at Lakerholics.com with Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet at Lakerholics.com. Plus, our good friend Stone Hansen. I'm hoping to get him on tomorrow to talk some NBA draft. So go ahead and check him out today at the Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast. He's been extremely busy right there. So go ahead and check out what he and the guys are doing in Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast. Our good friend John McCallion on YouTube. He just did a Thursday night showcase he just dropped. So go ahead and check out his great conversations today when you subscribe today on his channel on YouTube. And speaking of subscribing, if you have not hit the little Joe right there in the corner on the right-hand side of your screen on YouTube, you are missing out on all the good stuff here at Lakers Fast Break. So go ahead and do so. And if you do all that, like and subscribe, follow us wherever you can on social media, because you never know where we're going to be at and what we're going to be saying on social media. So go ahead and check us out today. And if you do, it is sincerely appreciated. Well, I'll tell you what, the news and rumors are still running wild, and we truly appreciate everybody stopping by to hear them. It's so fun to hear all the stuff that's going on, the latest things that are going on with the new management and regime in Washington, in the DC, in the nation's capital. They're talking about making some major changes, and one of them could possibly be a moving of Bradley Beal to another location, although he has a very hefty contract. I believe it's starting at $47 million for this year, reaching upwards into the higher 50s when his contract ends. I think he has a $57 million fifth-year option. He also has a no-trade clause, so he has to actually want to go where the Washington Wizards want to send him. So that's also in play as well. So the rumors are abound if he even wants to leave Washington. So if he does, where would he go? Here today to discuss that, and also the Zion Williamson saga, and also the rumors regarding New Orleans Pelicans. It's a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check him out as Ox1947 today at LakersBall.com. It is Joe Soro. And Joe, great to have you here on this late night edition of NBA Observations. I ask you, my friend, when it comes to what you're seeing with Bradley Beal, one of the teams that always is in the mix, and I know it's probably very unrealistic, nor would I want that option if given to me, is the Los Angeles Lakers. Because you know they just got to have their name thrown in there.
Every big name is going to be tied to the Lakers for leverage
Always.
purposes and selling clicks. There's a maybe 0.001 chance of Bradley Beal being a Laker, and a lot of it is because Bradley Beal doesn't want to be a Laker. I believe Bradley Beal wants to go to Miami. And if there's a package that will work, I believe he will be a Miami Heat by training camp and to start the season. Anywhere else, I know there's been some rumors about Philly, especially with the James Harden thing being what it is. I've heard Tobias Harris, first round pick. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think Maxi would probably have to be included in that.
I would ask for it. But
Uh,
the thing is, I ask you though, my friend, if Bradley Beal goes to any team, you're talking about an individual that starts this next season at $46.7 million, ends up by the end of his contract, and he is going to pick up the last year in his contract. I'm sorry, I said it's the fourth year on his contract because he's already 1 year into his 5 year deal. By the time his last year comes around, it's $57 million, player option. My God, it's obscene for a player, mind you, that has not hit 40% from three since 2016.
mhm.
Not even close.
Well, I think Black Mamba 72 segued a little bit to what would need to happen for the Lakers to have a shot at Beal, which would mean a sign and trade of D'Angelo Russell for Bradley Beal, and obviously a package and draft picks. The D'Angelo Russell situation got a little bit more clear for me recently when I've had a chance to really kind of absorb what's happened since Denver won the championship. D'Lo had a bad Denver series. Everyone has agreed to that, correct?
Yes.
Are you in agreement that D'Angelo had a really good Golden State and Memphis series minus a couple games?
I would not agree with that 100%. I think he was in and out. Remember, rarely in the playoffs did you get a full, continuous, consistent game from D'Angelo Russell. It was usually a period of time where there'd be a few plays where he got hot or a quarter where he got hot. Very rarely in the playoffs did he give you a great effort on the offensive end for a full game.
Okay. But he was effective in 2 of the 4 wins in each series from my
Yes,
recollection.
he came in at times in that. It's just he unfortunately the defensive end, what he can give you there, plus the fact again he is not consistent for an entire game in most cases.
Right. Now, with that, we saw something happen in the other side of the playoff series, which is the Eastern Conference. You saw Jimmy Butler have a good East run, correct?
Yes.
And what happened to him in the finals?
Whatever people are saying, whether it's injury or not related, he just did not show up for
Correct.
quite a bit.
So
Yes.
maybe we need to start focusing on that. Denver was probably the problem for D'Angelo the entire series.
I don't think so because he's just not athletic enough to keep up on the defensive end.
We all know that. I was talking about the offensive side. Anyone who thought that D'Angelo would help defensively, especially against Denver, against Jamal Murray or Porter or whatever, then you're not really watching basketball. But we need to not be prisoners of the moment. I believe that Denver had a lot to do with the fact that D'Lo didn't play well. I know D'Lo should have played well, but he didn't. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that Denver played him well. It happened to Jimmy Butler, who was supposed to be the greatest thing that ever lived for about 3 series. So with that, I think the Lakers need to take advantage of the fact that the other side of this coin is that they don't have to pay him what he probably would have gotten had he been a difference maker in the Western Conference Finals. So if you can get D'Angelo for $20 million for 4 years, you can soften the bad performance against Denver and hope that down the road he can be used as a last-minute trade for a star that may want to leave and demand to go to LA. I don't think that's going to happen either, but at least you have that option. And with that, he'll be effective during the regular season. He'll be effective in certain series in the playoffs, and hopefully maybe work on his game a little bit more to where maybe he turns the corner at some point. Not on defense, but at least on offense.
He ain't getting any younger, my friend.
Yeah, but he's still young. This is not a guy that needs athleticism to be effective. He can still shoot. He is somewhat of a tall guard. He does have a quick release. There is value there. Again, don't be prisoners of the moment. One series, let's throw this guy off the cliff.
This is not just one series. There's a reason why Minnesota let him go.
I don't
And
care about
Brooklyn let him
Minnesota. I don't care
go,
what he
and
did
Golden
before.
State.
I don't care what he did before. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about this year.
I'm just saying there's a pattern, my friend.
Okay,
There's a pattern, and it's not prisoners of the moment. This is prisoners of his entire career.
On defense, yes, but you need to use him on offense. You need to create an offense that can better fit his skill set. That's where the coaching and the offense becomes, for the coach, becomes an asset. Let's focus on that this offseason. You're going to have some of these guys that you traded for at the deadline for a full season this time. You're going to have a training camp. Let's improve. And then in that time, let's see if you can get lucky and bring in at least one or two guys that can soften some blows in areas that you need help in. And
I'm going to say it before, my friend, that he is at a very critical juncture, to decide this season and maybe next, you're going to decide whether or not he's going to stay a top shelf or even a borderline, even a medium sized or medium level NBA starting point guard, or if he just becomes a rotation player. I think his ultimate, path is for a rotation player coming off the bench. I really think that having him as a starting point guard continuously is going to end up hurting you in the long run.
If that's the case, then you can't sign him for $20 million a year.
But they will, because they need the slot, as you and I have talked about before.
So I think we need to coach this guy up. If he doesn't work out the next year or two, okay. But I think a full season with him, I think we're going to get a chance to see if that can be resolved.
I think just as a rotational player, I think he'd be a great asset to a team as a sixth man coming off the bench. I just think at this point in time, you are seeing declining values from him. And I think the playoffs really, as you saw, my friend, I mean, if you get him back and you retain him, which we obviously still need to do again for the whatever slot, you're going to go ahead and do, because you can't make up for that slot in free agency. You just can't. So you do need that valuable slot for a possible trade. And if you are stuck with him, you need to make sure you have a backup that can do, obviously like what Austin Reeves can do or other guards of his ilk can do, be able to be more of a two-way threat that will help alleviate some issues for LeBron and AD in the playoffs.
Two-way threat's never going to happen. It's going to have to be an offensive.
It happened with
He's going to have to be a Jamal Crawford type if you want him to be off the bench. He's going to be a perennial sixth man of the year. On a title team, that might work, but not at $20 million per. 15
you're talking about D'Angelo. Okay.
I'm talking about D'Angelo. Yeah, 15 per for 60 would be that slot. And that's not likely to happen. The question, though, is who's going to pay him $20 million for 4 years out there? That's the question.
Are you scared the Lakers will bid against themselves? Which has happened before.
They don't have to. They're going to let the market decide what D'Angelo is worth. There's no reason for them to push. The one contract that they have to be careful of is Austin Reeves, but we know, or at least we think we know, that someone might try to sabotage the Lakers, like the San Antonio Spurs or the Houston Rockets, into paying them $25 million or paying Austin $25 million. I believe that's what's going to happen, because that's what I would do, because you can strap your competition, and being that Popovich has the Lakers on his mind 24/7, that would make sense in trying to jack them up.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's what it is. It's a smart move in the end. Just like Kawhi Leonard, when he left the Lakers hanging, he signed with the Clippers, knowing he was going to sign with the Clippers, but kept them hanging long enough to get them to not be able to go out and acquire maybe someone like Jimmy Butler or go after Jimmy Butler aggressively, because they thought they had a chance at Kawhi Leonard. It's gamesmanship, it's competition, it's trying to weaken your enemy. You can use all those art of war tactics there in terms of the
And worst comes to
effectiveness.
worst, if you're doing that and you're trying to give the Lakers a really high price and the Lakers don't go for it and let him go, the thing is you've actually got an individual who can still grow in Austin Reeves. Yes, he is approaching 25, but he's still not yet reached his prime.
No, he hasn't reached his prime, but it, a little bit of me tells me is where can he improve? I don't know. I don't think there's any more improvement. He's shooting 40% from three. I guess maybe his ball handling skills can get a little bit better, but
Playmaking as well.
I don't know. I think as he continues to play, he's going to have to adapt to the fact that there's going to be defenses now that are going to target him and close off those lanes and get their hands in there to make him uncomfortable dribbling the ball in traffic. I don't know. That's my instincts tell me he's going to probably be this player the rest of the way, which is fine. I don't mind him being that player. He's very
But you
valuable.
see this more as a plateau, possibly.
Absolutely. There's no other way. What else can he do? Lose 20 pounds and start jumping out the building? I don't think so. Like Knee Deep just said about Zion. Zion has a lot of area to improve. Number one is he needs to drop 50 pounds. If he drops
We'll get into Zion here in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll get into Zion here in a minute, indeed. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everybody watching and listening. Before we get to Zion, my friend, I do want to go ahead and finalize our conversation on Bradley Beal. I understand that there's still people in our chat on previous shows. They've talked about Bradley Beal. I would not touch Bradley Beal with the 10-foot pole. I would not want, even if he wanted and begged to come over to the Lakers, I would not want it. That contract is absolutely, I think right now, when you take a look at it, my friend, because there's still 4 years left on his 5-year deal with that final year and option at $57 million. I think right now, given the level of production you've seen from him, the injuries, the fact that he hasn't shot 40% or even close to 40% from three since 2016, he's not a noted high-level defender. I think right now it is probably, in my estimation, the worst contract in the NBA.
Probably. And it doesn't really matter because I don't think he wants to come to LA anyways. I think he wants to go to Miami. And Pat Riley might try and see if that's something that could work, especially with the window of Jimmy Butler possibly going smaller and smaller here the longer we go.
With a no trade clause as well.
And it would be a good setup for Miami because they've been able to acquire a lot of valuable talent without draft capital, a lot of non-drafted players. So it could make sense there where if you can bring one more very, very good player to help Jimmy Butler, someone that can play similar to him in terms of getting a shot whenever he wants and dropping 25 points a game. Maybe if you let's say you trade Tyler Hero, you trade Duncan Robinson, maybe not Duncan Robinson, let's say Tyler Hero, Kyle
I would
Lowry.
trade Duncan Robinson. He was a liability. As much as he resurrected his career in the playoffs this season, he was a liability in the finals. As much as we saw with D'Lo, he was a liability.
Everyone was a liability against Denver the last 3 series. You have to talk about that.
Bobby Brown abused him in the playoffs.
Why all of a sudden these guys that were running game on everyone, Duncan Robinson in the Boston series, especially Jimmy Butler, obviously the entire playoffs, especially against Milwaukee. Why is it that those guys all of a sudden hit the wall against Denver? It's because Denver made them hit the wall. Denver made D'Lo hit the wall. Denver didn't allow LeBron to be comfortable for any of the games other than a few here and there where he was able to muster up enough energy to get to the basket at will. Anthony Davis couldn't really be consistent on offense. He was good on defense, but couldn't be consistent on offense. So Denver had a lot to do with the fact that these guys didn't perform the way they should have. And that's something that the coaching staff and these players need to go into the summer saying, next time we're going to go a whole different route. Next time we're going to do this and that, whatever it is that would help them play better. Denver looks very similar to a Dallas Mavericks team to me of 2011. I know they're yapping about how they're thinking dynasty. They're thinking the greatest duo of all time. Just the amount of stupidity that's coming out of this with Jamal Murray and Jokic is quite hilarious. I mean, everyone looks at Jokic and says, wow, this guy's humble and this guy's this and this guy's that. He looks so disinterested after that win. It looked like it was a nuisance that he had to deal with anything, any hindrance during the season. And to me, that's the kind of guy that's probably going to not play as hard as he did this year, next year, because he's comfortable. And I want you to look for that. I know that seems kind of negative. You might not agree with me on that, but I've seen this kind of mentality before where they win a championship and they're like, all right, good. I did everything I needed to do. They're not usually that hungry the following year. Mike Malone doesn't have the temperament to be in it year in and year out either. He's going to get burnt out rather quickly. Don't be surprised if he's out of Denver in a couple of years, especially after they lose in the playoffs. So that's my prediction there. So the teams that didn't win it, they'll have the motivation to come back next year and play a little harder. Hopefully there's some more talent, especially for the Lakers to bring in that can help them with depth, with shooting, with size. And with a little luck, hopefully LeBron can muster one more season of some of LeBron's ability, especially during the playoffs. Try to go out with a bang. And, of course, AD, if he can stay healthy, we can see possibly a Defensive Player of the Year award in his future, and maybe a top 5 or top 3 MVP role.
You're saying that after they win a championship, in the case of Michael Malone's, that's usually what we're seeing, especially with Frank Vogel. We saw it in other places as well. Nick Nurse. It's usually about a 2 to 4 year window that you're given as a coach.
Yeah, Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse and Frank Vogel are level-headed guys. They don't get too high. They don't get too low. Mike Budenholzer is what's killed him in Atlanta and in Milwaukee is his stubbornness. I'd say his stubbornness killed him. He just refused to adjust in certain series, certain games, and I don't know why these guys do this. I just don't know why. I don't know where the mindset of, well, let's try to adapt to this so that we can hope that we have enough energy here. It's just I feel like they're playing. They're overcoaching. Budenholzer, I think his last 2 jobs, he just overthought the position a little too much, and you would think being in the league as long as they have and winning a championship, you'd think that they kind of adapt a little bit better, but apparently not. I don't know what happened in Toronto with Nick Nurse. That firing does not make any sense to me. Do you know what happened in Toronto? I haven't heard anything.
It sounded like it was a locker room issue where the team just, as you know, coach.
Let me guess, he was holding them accountable, and they tuned him out.
Something like that.
So the genius up there, the GM that everyone was just slobbering all over in 2019, Ujiri, who I'm not really a big fan of, a little overrated for my taste. It took Kevin Durant getting injured for him to win a title in Toronto. And yes, he did acquire Kawhi Leonard, but not because Kawhi Leonard wanted to be there. But that's a different story for the different time. But I don't think the fact that you've been trying to trade Siakam, the fact that Van Fleet's likely going to be leaving here, why would you trade a championship coach who's really good if most of these guys aren't coming back? That one doesn't make sense to me. Monty Williams, I can understand that firing, even though I wouldn't have done it. New ownership, they want to pick their own coach. Fine. Doc Rivers, for obvious reasons why he got fired. That makes sense. Budenholzer, yes, bad decisions in crucial situations. Wasn't the first time. I get that. But Nick Nurse was puzzling to me. I couldn't figure out why they would get rid of him because I think he's top 3 coach in the league, in my opinion.
Monty Williams, I thought, was the one that was kind of puzzled me the most. Again, for all the goodwill he has amongst the league and the fact amongst the players as well. But like you said, new ownership.
Yeah, but the goodwill is not towards. Look, first of all, Monty Williams is a great human being. He's a great friend to people in the league, players and coaches and executives. But we're talking about the coaching part.
Well, the coaching part he hasn't done half bad on.
Hasn't done half bad, but I think
taking a team to the finals.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Maybe that Dallas series he should have gone a better way in a different way, obviously because they were heavily favored and lost that and got destroyed. And usually that's a coach killer and just basically on borrowed time, even with Kevin Durant being added into the mix. But you're right, with a new ownership change, they want their new people in place. And fortunately, Monty Williams and also his battling with DeAndre Ayton obviously proved to be his undoing as well.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton was management signing him for financial reasons, but he is not a top flight player. He
Which is
doesn't
terrible for a number one draft pick.
correct, and he doesn't show up when it matters. DeAndre Ayton was supposed to be a guy that closes out the 2021 finals. He's supposed to help you finish that off, and he can't. He didn't.
And who'd you pick over him? You picked over Trae Young, and of course you picked over Luka Doncic over him, which is going to stick out for years to come.
So Luka Doncic going to Phoenix, I don't know necessarily if that changes anything. Looking back on it now, Trae Young, some were saying during the draft that he was going to be a Steph Curry type, which there's some truth there in terms of his shooting ability, except his defense is terrible. Steph can at least play defense. DeAndre Ayton was probably, hindsight, obviously it's 2020, but that might have been the right pick at that time.
You always go with the height.
Yeah, well, he had some potential to becoming maybe what would be a good comp for him? Maybe an all-star version of Andrew Bynum.
Could have been
2012 Bynum, where he played almost the entire year and was a starter in the All-Star game. I think that was kind of what he could be, except obviously a more healthy one. So I would roll with that, especially when you have Devin Booker. You have the size now. You have the guy in the middle. You have Devin Booker, and you've drafted well. You drafted real well, actually. But the putting that thing together, man. I mean, I don't know if these coaches really. I don't know if these players allow coaches to really use them. There's so much selfishness in basketball. It's just very, very difficult to make everyone happy. Another thing that you got to give Denver credit for this season is how unselfish they were. And usually that's the team that wins, is when they're not selfish. When the Lakers won in 2020, I remember talking about this a few times. Obviously, that was before I came onto the show. I go, have you guys noticed there's no noise coming out of the locker room? I mean, there was nothing, not even a little thing.
They really enjoyed playing with each other.
They really did. It was quiet. You never heard LeBron say anything about anybody or any kind of passive aggressive, whatever. AD obviously always kind of too cool for school. He doesn't really do that. You never heard a Caruso comment about anything. You never heard Frank Vogel do any kind of innuendos. It was the quietest championship run I've ever heard in my life. And that plays a big part. I really do. I think that plays a big part in the team's focus and their ability to play for each other. Most of these guys don't play for each other. That's why they're always talking at the end of every win. Oh, we believed in each other and we believe that. It's like, it's like saying I take care of my kids and I take care of my wife. I'm like, okay, isn't that what you're supposed to do? You played for each other. Of course you played for each other. You guys play for the same freaking team. You have the same goal. It's your job is to win. So Denver's Denver's chemistry, as well as their execution, is what won them the championship, while everyone else was grab-assing and wondering why D'Lo wasn't playing well and why Jimmy was going 2 for 14 in the clincher and why why can't Jaylen Brown make a shot? I mean, that's kind of what you hear. So it's a fickle game, man. It's a fickle game, and there's a lot of working parts. Kind of like making a movie. It takes a lot to make a movie. It's probably one of the more difficult things you can do. Too many working parts, and then in sports, it's even more of working parts that just kind of have to come together at the right time. Otherwise, it's a struggle.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We're talking about players in the rumorville, maybe heading to new places. Knee deep, says NBA coaching today is very difficult with rosters full of 19 to 22-year-olds with mainly AAU experience or overseas in some cases. But yes, definitely I can agree with that assessment. But Knee Deep also talked about Zion Williamson, and his name has been bandied about over the past few hours. And I'll talk to you about that one here in a sec right now as I explain the comments from Knee Deep earlier in the show on Zion's 280 to 300 pounds of constant pounding on his knees, ankles, hamstring, and ligaments will lead to a short NBA career. I cannot agree more on that. We've seen that already as a precedent. So it is, the athleticism, which he bases so much of his game on, is going to go away rather quickly the more injuries he racks up. And that Knee Deep also said you cannot defy the raw physics of his style of place, his bad diet, his lack of mental toughness, and his constant leg injuries in his early 20s will force him out of New Orleans. That's something I want to talk to you about as far as when it comes to the destination of a possible move for Zion, because rumors have been abound that New Orleans is now looking to get a hold of Scoot Henderson in the draft, which I would say would be a brilliant move, as I'm really thinking that Scoot Henderson is going to be something special in the league. I've seen him live and in person. I've seen what he can do playing against Victor Wembanyama and the Metropolitan 92s. And I saw that game and I saw the drive. I saw the ambition. He went out there thinking that I am the number one draft pick and not Victor. And he came out after that game smelling like a rose. And he was just truly incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing him play really, really well at a high level at the next level. Knee Deep is also saying Charlotte or Portland. So that gets to my next question. Charlotte has the second pick. Portland has the third pick. The rumors are abound that New Orleans wants to move into those top three slots. The only asset they could get, no matter how many number one picks they have, no matter how many good players that they have with good salaries and good contracts, my friend, the only thing that's going to make Charlotte or Portland bite is the possibility of Zion Williamson. Now, I remember talking to Magic Man Sean Grice a few months back about Zion, and I said then, I think, and everybody was just like, about the possibility of moving Zion, even at that time, because, oh, he has so much potential in the games that he does play. You see what kind of numbers he gets. I'm not denying his potential and his ability to play when he's on the court as of now. But the things that Knee Deep mentioned, plus the fact he's not been available at all for much of his career, or I should say, not at all, but much of his career, the fact that he has not been available for a great bit of New Orleans run just goes to show or support my theory that maybe it's best in the long term to move him for a really good asset like the number 2 or number 3 pick.
Anyone who trades for Zion are going to have to get reassurance from Zion that he's going to be committed, especially with his contract, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Zion,
And
Zion,
let me just reiterate the contract. The contract starts this year, his extension at $33 million, going up in the final year, the 5th year of his contract, at $44 million.
he is playing. He's getting paid LeBron money, and
Mm-hmm.
he's playing like Sam Bowie. So with that, Zion is billed at 283, which is a laughable joke. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he's closer to 320, 325, which means for him to sustain an NBA career of substance, he is going to have to drop 70 to 75 pounds. He is going to need to look like Karl Malone. Karl Malone was billed at 6'9", but Karl said many times that he was around 6'7". Zion hasn't lied about his height. He is 6'6". Whether I think that's with shoes on or not, I don't remember either or. but let's say he's 6'6", 6'7". He is going to need to get down to 250. He will still be able to have size, and he'll still be able to have his freakish athleticism. The only thing is his joints and his knees and his hips and his ankles and his feet are going to get that much less poundage. So when you look at 75 pounds, it is said that every pound you carry is 3 pounds of pressure on your knees. So you're looking at 100, no, you're looking at 225 pounds of extra pressure on those knees that you don't need to have. And that's just for a regular human being who's just walking around in a normal life. NBA, the kind of pounding you're putting on your body on a court 82 times a year, playoffs, preseason, practices, Zion has to get down to 250. If he doesn't get down to 250, he's likely not going to have an NBA career that long. And if I'm a team that's trading for him, that contract's going to have to get renegotiated because I don't
Well,
trust him.
actually, well, there is, as I noted, and that was a good thing Knee Deep brought up as far as the contingencies and clauses in his contract. While there is bonuses and incentives if he makes All NBA, if he doesn't make an All NBA, there's obviously some things there as well. But there's also protections to be determined by weight, and he must be less than 295 pounds, I think, coming into training camp, and the body fat monitored throughout the season. Otherwise, he does take financial hits. So there is some protections already in place on this contract.
I still feel that New Orleans getting the pick that year was a detriment to his career. New Orleans is not exactly this. New Orleans, in a lot of ways, is the South version of Minnesota. It's kind of a purgatory franchise. You need a Zion was supposed to be the next big thing. I think we tend to overrate guys a lot. He had the ability to do it, but obviously it's not going. It's not happening. But I think going to New Orleans didn't help. I think had he gone to the Knicks, let's say, I think there would have been a little bit more motivation for him to be in shape and do his thing. And a theory of mine is he's trying to get out of New Orleans too. That might be what he's trying to do. And maybe he changes his tune when he leaves. I don't know, because it doesn't make any sense. Zion, from every interview I saw him and teammates and all that, he seems like a pretty bright guy, but can't seem to make a commitment that he's a professional basketball player, and he needs
And
to
on
start
top of
doing
that,
it.
he's got the baby mama drama where, there's several ladies now, I guess, in his life that he now is either tying himself to or financially tying himself to. And as Knee Deep pointed out, I was going to mention that here at the back end of it, that part of his life, that tabloid part of his life, is now coming to light in the past couple of weeks. So it's been noted that this is, I guess, the young man who is playing the field, and the field is playing him back, so to speak, as well. But all in all, my friend, when I ask you this, if you're Portland or Charlotte, Charlotte's the number 2 pick, Portland's number 3, do you consider the options if New Orleans calls and wants the number two pick for Zion Williamson, and do you pull the trigger on it?
You have to have some kind of assurance that Zion's going to be committed. How do you get that? How do you get that? You can't risk trading possibly 3 really, really well, Scoot and let's say Brandon, right? Those guys could be stars, right?
Well, Scoot would come to Charlotte, and Zion would go. No, it's just would come to New Orleans, and Zion would go to Charlotte
Charlotte has the
or Portland.
second pick.
Yeah, and Portland has the 3rd pick. And New
Portland
Orleans
has the third, right? So, I guess Portland would I guess it'd be worth the risk for them because I think Scoot is going to be a star, and I think Victor's going to be a star, barring any injuries. Everyone else is kind of a crapshoot.
I mean, if you're in Charlotte, when are you going to get that kind of player possibility walking in your door?
What kind of player are you getting, though? Are you talking about Scoot or are you talking about Zion?
Zion.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk if I was Charlotte.
I don't blame you. I'm not saying I blame you, but the potential is there. The
Yeah,
potential's there, but
potential. Charlotte has no business talking about potential. They need to get the next best thing, and there might be some redundancy with him and Lonzo. I'm sorry, not Lonzo. LaMelo.
LaMelo.
But
I would take it. I would
but
take Scoot.
I would rather risk that and say if Scoot outplays LaMelo, then you can leverage LaMelo and go get somebody else. I don't take a chance on someone who's not committed to playing. The only way I'd make that trade. By the way, LaMelo is a very good player, but I don't think he's a star. I don't think he'll ever be a star. Scoot has the opportunity to be that. He can be a John Morant with hopefully without the dumb decisions. So I wouldn't risk. If I was Portland, they have a little room to risk because I think after Scoot, it's somewhat of a hope and a crapshoot.
Would it appeal to Damian Lillard as far as his long-term prospects on wanting to stay in Portland?
And that has to play into why they would make that trade. I would talk to Damian. Look, we have a couple options here. What do you want to do? You want us to go after Zion, or do you want to play with Brandon?
Well, he would play with Brandon Miller or Scoot, yeah, something like that. So,
well, Portland's not playing with. Portland's not going to get Scoot.
Yeah, Portland could get Scoot if Charlotte.
No, they're not. I don't see that happening. Scoot's going to be number 2. That would have to be the dumbest.
I think he should be number 2, but you hear all these.
I would be in
draft
shock.
experts, and half of them are.
I would be in shock if Scoot's not 2. I'm just saying. I just don't. I never believed that Brandon Miller was going to be number 2. I just never. Scoot Henderson is going to be number 2. There's no way he's not going to be number 2. And I don't think Mitch will make that decision. Mitch was able to identify that Jahlil Okafor was not going to be number 2. That he knows basketball and he knows that Scoot's better than Brandon Miller. At least I think he is. So you talk to Damian Lillard and you say, "What do you want? What do you think would be the right move here? Do you want us to trade number 3 for Zion? Because I believe they will. I believe New Orleans would take that trade. I believe they do it. And the other thing is New Orleans might be shipping Brandon Ingram too, which isn't a bad deal because I think Brandon Ingram is a very good player, but he's not going to lead your franchise to anything. He might be a really good number 3 guy. I don't even know if he's a good number 2 guy.
Very interesting. Very interesting comments.
So look for that. If New Orleans wants to make a splash, if they really want to make a splash, they kind of gut that team and maybe start becoming Oklahoma City and start grabbing a bunch of draft picks.
They already have a bunch of draft picks. That's the thing.
Keep bringing them and then maybe package them for a higher pick down the road. I don't know. The NBA is really, really tough. You can't. The talent's too limited. The next level players are too limited. You could offer San Antonio your next 10 first-round draft picks, and they'll still say no to you. They're drafting Victor Wembanyama. You could probably give them 20 first-round draft picks, and they still wouldn't do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, it's great talking to you on that. Again, with Zion's history, as DD pointed out, that we have played as many games as him since January 2023. It's funny because, again, you hear his name constantly in the news. It's not for his basketball skills. Lately, it's been for the drama that he has off the court. With seasons as
so
29
what's going games. On? Is he banging around with porn stars? Is that what it is?
I think he was caught in a conversation with a porn star, as far as an adult movie star, that asking her to move out to New Orleans, as far as how much money did she need in order to go ahead and buy a place there in New Orleans to be closer to him. Plus, I think he's got a baby on the way. Plus, I think there's a third lady involved. Yeah, it's all.
So he's just like every other irresponsible jackass who keeps having children with a bunch of women, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to go ahead and say that, but you're don't put words in my mouth. You're just saying that. I'm just thinking he's a young man with a lot of money
Yeah, and
and
that's the kind of that's the kind of mentality that keeps this going. By the way, I'm not very. I don't have a lot of respect for people who make bad decisions like that, because that's what affects society more than anything is bad decisions like that and the structure of things. But it proves why he's not focused on the things he's supposed to focus on. He's
and
too
we've seen
focused
it
on he's too focused on the bad things.
and we've seen it played out on the court. I mean, 2019 only played 24 games, 2020 61 games, 2021 nothing at all the entire season, and 2022 a whopping 29 games. So for me, I said or actually a few months back with Sean, I'd say already try to find a way to get rid of him. Try to find a way to trade him if you're New Orleans. So if you can get him, traded away for Scoot Henderson, I think that would be a win for New Orleans.
No, I mean, yeah, it would be, but the other side of it is that'd be a terrible trade.
It's a big risk, and no pun intended there. But
Yeah,
it's a
you don't not
huge
Scoot, maybe
risk.
Brandon Miller to some degree. You might want to give it a shot, but even then, it's what if he becomes a star? You can't. I think after 3 you can do something, but I think more than anything, I think New Orleans wants to get out of that contract, and I think they'd be willing to throw some extra stuff in there. If that's the case, then maybe there might be a shot. But I don't know if Zion gives Damian Lillard a chance to win a championship, even if he is healthy.
I
I think
agree.
they need a little bit more. Damian Lillard will likely not be a Portland Trailblazer to end the season next year. I think Portland owes him that. Where he'll go, uh, if the Bradley Beal deal doesn't happen in Miami, I'd say Miami's a big player in acquiring Damian Lillard in during the season before the trade deadline.
His name will come up constantly in rumors towards the Lakers.
Yeah, but the Lakers, unfortunately, are a despised team by the Portland Trail Blazers, and the only way that the Blazers would trade Lillard to LA is if they accommodated Lillard due to his request to go to the Lakers. And I don't even know if they still do that, anyways.
Knee Deep says which NBA GM would risk his job on a Zion trade. I don't know. I'm just thinking it'd be someone who would make, it's thinks he's very stable in his position. That the owner himself would actually come to him and say, "You got to trade for Zion." I think it would take a lot of factors. I just think right now, again, if you're New Orleans, you're trying to unload Zion for all these reasons that you've seen. But again, if you're the receiver of Zion, it's a huge risk, an absolutely
Maybe
huge
Scott
gamble.
Perry. Maybe bring Zion to New York where everyone was waiting for him, right?
It would have to be someone very safe in his job. Mitch Kupchak is not.
Trade Julius Randle and a package to New Orleans and bring Zion to New York, and maybe he gets motivated in New York. I don't know. Play
Well,
with Jalen Brunson.
he wants to go to New York. That's the ultimate goal. But New York doesn't have a package to get him there. Does not
They
have.
have enough matching contracts and some
No, but
maybe a
not
little.
desirable players.
No, but I think what New Orleans might want to do is just kind of get out of that rut, get out of that contract.
We'll see. Knee Deep says Randall, does he go back to New Orleans in that possible deal? I'm not
I
sure.
believe he'd be part of the package. That
Feel
would have
sorry.
to be that would have to be included in the package, because Randall's making
I'll look it
20,
up right now.
24 to almost 30 million in the next 4 years. Add in Fournier, add in the Derrick Rose contract if you have to, and then maybe try and get Brandon Ingram in that deal. Maybe New Orleans would want to package those two, and then that kind of gives the Knicks a formidable team. You'd have Zion, you'd have Brandon Ingram and Brunson. That might be appealing. I don't know.
Last 3 years for Randall is 25, 27, and 29.
Yeah,
Just to let you know.
but you're still paying RJ Barrett after next year, or I should say starting next year, you're paying him a lot of money too. So the Knicks have a lot of bad contracts, to be honest with you. I don't think RJ Barrett and Randall are 25 and $29 million players, even though the
I
market
think New
says they
York would
are.
do it. I think New
Yeah,
York would jump at a chance for Zion.
yeah,
I
I
really
think
do.
they would. I think it's worth that they can risk, but you can't risk. You just cannot risk two guys that are going to be picked 2 and 3 to for a guy that's not committed.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It's Gerald Glassford along with Joe Soro from LakersBall.com. Truly appreciate it. I'm hoping tomorrow to get a hold of Mr. Stone Hansen from the Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast, who says he wanted to come back on to give us some last minute news and notes on and updates on who the Lakers might be interested and who he thinks the Lakers should pick at number 17, because obviously that's still in flux at this time. Hoping Joe can join me for that as well. Knee Deep says Zion to the Big Apple, even more off court distractions. Oh, you know it, Knee Deep. I mean, you think the media is on him now. The New York media would be on him a lot more then. That's for sure. That's for sure, indeed. But before we head on out, my friend, just wanted to go ahead and ask for your final thoughts for this evening on such a great evening. We finally go ahead in the wee hours of the morning. So before we head on out, my friend, your final thoughts on some possible movements for some players we've been hearing about all week long.
Well, I think Bradley Beal's been the biggest noise that's come out. I think
Mm-hmm.
that might be the most likely trade to happen out of all the ones that I've heard, just because I think there's really nothing else Bradley Beal can do in Washington, and he is the only player, I believe, in the NBA that has a no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
So he can dictate where he goes and the package that's coming. I don't know why the hell they gave him a no trade clause. No one deserves a no trade clause except maybe LeBron. Someone like LeBron in his prime, or someone of that ilk. Uh, I'd say that's likely. It makes too much sense that it's time for him to leave Washington. Zion, it's going to come down to who risks their career for him, which if you're smart, you wouldn't, unless you're New York. New York doesn't really have any player on there except for maybe Brunson that kind of is a risk. It's just trading numbers at that point. And if he doesn't work out in New York, it doesn't matter. You got rid of Randall, you got rid of, let's say, RJ Barrett or whatever. Okay. The surprise trade, I believe, could come, but I just don't know who yet. I feel like there's gonna be some trades that are gonna shock some people, and I just don't know who yet. I'm still looking into it, but we'll find out here in the next few weeks after the draft. I think that's when things will start to get hot.
Tell you what, my friend, it's been great talking with you on what's going on in the NBA scene. More scuttlebutt will come about, and we'll report it right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Always, my friend, there's going to be more tweets coming at you, more notifications. Although you said you had them turned off, there'll be more news, and we email each other all the time with the entire group of friends that we have at the Lakers Fast Break. Do want to make one last mention and congratulations right here in Las Vegas for the Golden Knights, which won the NHL Stanley Cup. Looking forward to having the city rejoice in a parade on Saturday. Hopefully, it will go a lot better than the Denver celebrations, which seemingly cannot get by without having some gunfire. So I'm hoping it'll be a lot safer for everybody here in Las Vegas. This is much a welcome sight for them. And after the tragedies that we've had in our city over the past few years, hopefully this will be a great healing point for us. And we're just truly proud of our team. And I'll tell you what, my friends, a lot of fun here going on. People are very happy right now. So hopefully that continues through Summer League when we see the Lakers draft choices, plus also as well, we'll hear about free agency. Vegas is always hopping, my friend. Always good to see.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
looks like the A's are going to Vegas.
Oh
Yay.
yeah, that's so great. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yay.
Yeah.
I hope you all
Woohoo.
enjoy your extra $45 a night
Yeah.
resort fee that you have to pay in.
Yeah.
What I
Only
love about
$400
Vegas,
million.
my favorite part of Vegas is you get a hotel room for $50 And then when you get to the last page,
You
it's
get
$89 for fees.
absolutely just those hikes. Yeah.
This is why I don't like Vegas.
I can't say that part of it. I blame
The
you
last
because
time I was in Vegas, the gambling, the numbers are just absolutely hilarious that people sit there and just give their money away to these schmucks. I don't get it. I don't get it. If Vegas
I know some of these people and they're not schmucks.
if Vegas gambling burned to the ground, I'd sit there and off each nostril.
And I would tell you, sir, that Vegas is a great city. If you choose to gamble, that's your own choice. You can find help if you need to. There are 1-800 gambling toll-free numbers. You can call at any point in time. But don't blame don't blame the messenger, because everybody now has sports gambling and gambling in almost every state now. So, my friend, it's Las Vegas. It's a great place to be, and I enjoy being here, my friend.
But you can't gamble. We can promote it, right? The NFL, NBA, we can promote it. We can make billions from it. But man, if you do one fantasy football bet, you're going to get suspended for a year. You freaking hypocrite a-holes, all of you. That's what I don't like about
Well, that's a
gambling
different story.
and the Vegas mentality and all these guys. You can do what you want, but the second the other guy does something, you break him down. That's why I can't stand those things. That's why I get emotional about it, because you're all full of crap. Okay, you can do it, but the other guy can't do it. Come on, really?
You
No,
coming
man.
to Las Vegas for Evo? Get ready
I
to
don't
pay
know.
for those resort fees.
I don't know. I'm able to find ways to get around the Vegas BS because I don't gamble. I mean, I do gamble. I'll do some sports book stuff, but that's because I know sports a little bit and I do win a couple bucks here and there. I don't like the attitudes at the sports books. They look at you like you're a parasite. That's one of the things I don't like about life in general. Like if you're looking at me like I'm some piece of crap, uh, you're liable to get told that you need to stop doing that. So I don't like the attitudes over there, and I don't like the dirtiness. And there's a lot of pathetic things going on there. However, the good things are the sporting events, boxing, when actual boxing happened. I am going to be at Allegiant Stadium September when the Steelers are in town. Evo is still up to debate. We'll see what happens there.
All I'm
And
saying is get ready to pay some of those wonderful resort
well, that's
fees
the
for
thing
that.
is that's the problem is they're and again I'm happy that the Golden Knights won a title. I think it's a story that's actually really really cool when you think about it. This is a team that went to the finals in their first season
Yes.
and won a title in their sixth season as an expansion team. The only team that I think that's of the major four that have won a title earlier are the Milwaukee Bucks.
There's actually 4 teams, I think. 4 teams, but I think a couple baseball teams, a football team. I think I mentioned this week there are about 3 or 4 sports teams that are ahead of the Golden Knights on that. They won in their third, fourth, and fifth year.
When did
So,
the Mets? How long were the Mets in the league before they won in '69?
that I'm not sure of. I'd have to
I
look
think
that.
I think Milwaukee's number one. Milwaukee was 3 years.
I think that Milwaukee is the
Yeah,
number one.
Kareem got drafted, and then they won in 1971.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I just think that. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I think hockey wise, it's their own.
Well, to get
It's
also
it's
early
their
on.
own team, right?
Well,
The Raiders, I don't look at the Raiders as a Las Vegas team. Everyone think, oh, it's Vegas, Sin City, the Raiders. Yeah, the Raiders haven't been anything for almost 40 years. Basically, they've been a, they've been a they've been a they've been shaved beards. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be PG here. Shaved beards for 40 years. They don't have any mystique. They're a clown organization run by Lloyd Christmas hairstyle wearing Mark Davis. So I don't really look at. I think bringing the Raiders to Vegas was a meh. Golden Knights, excellent.
Preaching to the choir. I'm just telling you right
Golden
now.
Knights, homegrown, excellent. UNLV, homegrown, excellent. The A's, who the hell is going to go watch the A's in Vegas?
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. I did not want $400 million of the public funds be put out to this organization for an expansion organization, or if an NBA team wants to be expound upon when Seattle and most likely Las Vegas get expansion teams, that's going to be great news. But to get somebody else's problems like the Raiders or the A's, I'm not exactly in love with that concept. Never have been and never will. Just unfortunately, we're going to go ahead and see it here, whether we like it or not. I will say, though, that congratulations to a tremendous city outside of the Strip called Las Vegas, which I just hardly disagree with Joe Soro on this city. So gambling aside, I really think that this is a tremendous city.
There's nothing to argue against. I already know what's going on, and it's.
So do I. I've been here since 1995.
If you're talking about something outside of the Strip, yeah, sure. I'm sure Henderson is fine. Been to Par doing training there before. I think that's those are good, valuable places. But the Strip and the casinos inside, they're the lowest form of entertainment.
Sin City, indeed. But
just
I will say,
just go take your money and go give it to the teller. Just waste your life and waste your money. And these are probably the same people that bitch and whine about the economy and which president's this and which governor is that. I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing in Vegas? What are you doing in Vegas gambling? What are you doing
again,
smoking all day?
The city was not built on losers, that's for sure. I mean, the city was not built on winners, that's for sure.
I would have loved Vegas during the Rat Pack era.
I will say, though, that I'm very happy for the Las Vegas Golden Knights as an individual who really has been rooting for them for quite some time, and to see them grow to where they were today, to see them not initially get the kind of love that they deserved. It was really hard for them to get the 10,000 seat season ticket requirement before they became an expansion franchise. To see them grow beyond the tragedies that they've had since then, as far as the shootings and the mass killings and at the Mandalay Bay or near the Mandalay Bay, and all the stuff that's gone on since then. I'm really happy for the organization that has been so much part of our culture and so much a part of our lives here in Las Vegas for the past 6 years. So congratulations to them. Hopefully the Lakers can soon follow that. That's what I'm hoping for next season. Hopefully we will not have to see any more Jokic losing his MVP trophy and wanting to not even be part of the parade. And I'll tell you what, I'm just glad to see that NBA season is finally done with, so we could focus on all the rumors, all the innuendo, all the trade requests, all the trade proposals, and all the stuff going on with the draft and free agency coming up. Congrats to the LVK. Thank you so much, Knee Deep. Truly appreciate you being the great part of our conversation today. Joe, looking forward to hopefully a conversation tomorrow with Stone Hansen. Maybe something on the weekend. If something pops up, we'll do something on the fly this weekend. So we'll see what happens, my friend. But keep in tune with us here at the Lakers Fast Break. Looking forward to it, my friend. Just appreciate it. Late night for you once again, my friend.
Well, I've had a lot of activity going on late at night lately. As you can see, my studio is being constructed. More and more, this thing is going to continue to advance and progress, just like the show is. We are at a dead time right now. I think hopefully in the next 6 days, we can start ramping up and getting some more activity going. And then hopefully July 1 will be the beginning of a very positive summer, which I believe it will be. I believe the Lakers have some options that they can go after, and hopefully they can surprise us with a couple of really good options. And I hope that AD and LeBron are doing the necessary things for them, for their bodies, that they can be ready for training camp and hopefully stay healthy throughout the entire season next year. Because I'm already looking forward to the NBA season, which usually around this time I'm burnt out. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the NBA right now. Actually, I'm kind of bummed that it's done.
Hopefully, the Lakers are going to be ready as well. But that's up to Rob Pelinka and the crew, the scouting department, the GM's office, and all that. So we'll keep you updated on what's going on here at the Lakers. And hopefully, it starts tomorrow or very soon with a conversation with Stone Hansen. Hopefully, we'll be back tomorrow to go ahead and talk about that and all the things that are going on in the world of the NBA right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.